Today, I'm going to show you how to interpret any symbol in a lead sheet. This is part 6 of 7 in the ultimate roadmap to piano chords. And while today is more intellectual, our final part 7 next week will be hands-on learning of lead sheets with tips on the best way to learn and play them and a really rewarding way to wrap up this chord series. If these videos have been helpful to you so far, I would love if you shared a video or the playlist so more people can take advantage of this free resource. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss my monthly giveaways to the Piano Roadmap membership. I haven't done a giveaway in September yet, so it could be coming up next week, maybe. Just so all this information is in one place, let's do a very quick review of the chord symbols we've already learned. Before we get into the miscellaneous symbols, there's an important concept we need to know. When reading lead sheet chord symbols, they're always independent from key signatures. So a D major chord will always be D, F sharp, A, even if you're in the key of C major where there's no sharps or flats in the key signature. The chord root, aka the name of the chord, is the key for that moment. So when you see a D major chord symbol, think in the key of D major when you pick your notes. If you see a D minor chord symbol, think in the key of D minor with 2 flats. Okay, miscellaneous chord symbols. First, sus chords. Sus is short for suspended, and the 2 kinds of chords we see are sus2 and sus4. And these apply to triads, not 7th chords. The 2 and the 4 replace the 3rd of the chord, and it creates a kind of suspended feeling, like it's not quite resolved or finished yet. For example, here's a C major chord, root, 3rd, and 5th. If we replace the 3rd with a 4th above the root, it becomes C sus4. And if we replace 3rd with the 2nd above the root, it becomes a C sus2. Sus chords are usually followed by the original form of the major chord, so C sus4 will usually resolve to C, and C sus2 to C as well. If you know your key signatures well, you'll have no problem understanding what notes need to be included in sus chords. For example, if you're in the key of E major, there are 4 sharps, F sharp, C, G sharp, and D sharp. An E sus4 chord, which uses the root 4s, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5th of the chord, is E, A, B. An E sus2 chord, which uses the root, the 2nd, and the 5th of the chord, is E, F sharp, B. If you're not familiar with key signatures, use the half-step formulas. So a sus2 chord is starting note plus 2 half steps, 1, 2, and then 5 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A sus4 chord is starting note plus 5 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 2 half steps, 1, 2. Another miscellaneous chord is the added 6 chord. When you see this, add a major 6 above the root. If you know key signatures, count up the scale to the 6th scale degree. So in the key of F, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or it's 2 half steps above the 5th of the chord. So here's the 5th, go up 2 half steps, 1, 2. Usually the added 6 will be a major 6th, but in the rare case that the composer wants a minor 6th above the root, they'll indicate that with a flat before the 6. Here's C6 with a major 6, and here's C minor 6, and then here's C flat 6. 7th chord extensions have extra color notes added, which are indicated with numbers larger than 7. A C9 chord keeps all the same notes as a C dominant 7th chord, with the addition of an interval of a major 9th above the root. So here's an octave, here's a 9th above the root. You can also think of it as 4 half steps above the 7th of the chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can think of it as the 2nd of the chord, just an octave higher. You might also come across C11. Add a major 11th above the root for a C11. Or you can think about it as a 4th above the root, just an octave higher. And C13. Add a major 13th above the root for a C13, which would be here. Or you can think about it as a major 6th above the root, just an octave higher. With extended 7th chords, certain parts of the chord are often left out because of dissonance or because we simply don't have enough fingers to play all the notes. So in extended 11th chords, the 3rd and the 5th are often left out. So here it is with all of the notes included. So that does sound pretty dissonant. Listen if I take out the 3rd of the chord, from here to here, or even the 5th. In extended 13th chords, which with all the notes it would be here, it's the 5th and the 11th that are left out. These extensions work on other 7th chords as well, so you can have C major 9, so C major 7 chord is here, and now because we're extending it to the 9th, we add the D. Or you could have a C minor 9. First, C minor 7 is here. And now just add the 9th. Now remember, even though it says C minor, that only applies to the 7th quality, the 7th chord quality. The 9 is a major 9 because there's no flat before the 9. Or you could have a C diminished 9. Here's the diminished 7th chord on C. And then you could add the major 9th. We can also raise or lower certain notes of the chord with the addition of a flat or a sharp before the small numbers. For example, a C7 flat 9 is a dominant 7th chord on C plus the interval of a minor 9th above the root. You can also think of it as 3 half steps above the 7th. So 1, 2, 3. Or you could think about it as a half step above the root, just an octave higher. You might also see something like C7 sharp 11, which is a dominant 7th chord on C with the addition of a raised 11th above the root. Here's the 9th, here's the 11th, and now we have to raise that to be a half step higher. And just to quickly mention, sometimes one might come across a 5 chord like C5. When you see this, this means you'll play just a 5th on C, like a power chord. And then once in a great while, you might see NC, which means no chord. With all of these miscellaneous chords, use your common sense. They can look really complicated on the page, but you know the basics. These small numbers add an interval above the root. If there's a flat or sharp before one of those numbers, it means that it's lowered or raised. So if you don't know the original spelling of the interval, you need to gain an understanding of the major or minor keys of the root note. And if there's ever a doubt, a great free resource is chordatlas.com. All you do is type in a chord and it'll show you the exact notes to play in root position and its inversions. It was always good to know why a chord is built a certain way or how to figure most out on your own so you can memorize them. But this resource is really great for those crazier and less common chords you might come across. I hope this will be a helpful resource for you as you explore more lead sheets and your own improvisations or compositions. Don't forget, next week we'll be putting everything together and do some hands-on practice with different lead sheets. Until then, happy practicing and see you next time.